You're listening to World of Empowerment Radio, your station for practical spirituality in a changing world. And here are your hosts, Aingeal Rose and Ahonu.
You're very, very welcome to our Honest to God series session today. Aingeal Rose is here, and myself, Ahonu, and we are blessed to be able to have somebody on the show today who is calling to us from Greece. And our purpose really is to get an idea of what the people on the ground, on the street, are actually feeling and what they're going through in this turbulent time in Greece. We have all the information from the governments and from the European Union and from the politicians and the mainstream media about what they tell us is going on. But we're very, very keen to actually find out what's going on the ground.
Right. So we do have a wonderful person on the other line whose name is Helen. We're not going to say anything else, but she is going to be talking to us today about what her life has been like in Greece for the past few years, going back from when it was great to what's going on with it now. And why we think this is important is not only because we want the truth of the situation, but because many countries are going through the same sort of takedown, if you will, okay?
Yes.
With the possibility, though, of the people wanting something else. So this problem that we have of allowing these corporate Mongols to come in and take over countries and bring people to their knees, especially when the problem started with the banks and not the people. So, and this is what's coming down now, what's happening to Greece. We were all hopeful, weren't we, when they voted no against austerity, that they were going to take a step for sovereignty. But it seems that they were ignored. The people's vote didn't matter. And this is hugely serious, although I will surrender to the thought that if a country is going to break away and become sovereign, they really do need to have a plan in place that would allow that to happen without huge consequences to their people. And I do think Greece was not prepared for that. And probably many countries are not prepared for that. But it's a wake-up call to say that, yes, we want sovereignty, but we do have to know how we're going to achieve it. Mm-hmm. And it has to be looked at from all levels of human existence. And I think the people from within themselves need to come up with community plans. Let's start with community plans and how communities could be self-sovereign, or even neighborhoods, for example. Mm-hmm. We need to start from within.
But there's another truth to what you're saying, Aingeal Rose, and that is that they did have sovereignty before the European Union. You know, they were a sovereign nation. They were self-sufficient. They had marvelous resources and were perfectly capable and able to survive on their own, which they did for several thousands of years. And it was the European banking system and the European Union and the European Monetary Fund that has caused so much of the hardship for them.
Well, now all the countries that have seceded to that have to figure out a way how to get out of it, because they become totally dependent on it. Yeah.
Now, one of the things that we're keen to talk to Helen about today, as I said before, is to get the perspective for what's going on the ground. Now, we have our own little health business where we had an order from somebody in Greece, and we shipped it a couple of weeks ago. And they complained because they hadn't received it. And so when we went with the courier company and did all the tracking, they actually lost it in Greece. Now, we immediately started wondering, did somebody actually take it to try and sell it? Was it intercepted in some way? Was there corruption even going on at that level? And so we sent them another package, and the other package we found had been delivered to Greece, but there it was stuck in the courier office in Athens. And it just raised the questions about, like, is the country grinding to that much of a halt, really, that something can't be delivered locally in that way, do you know? So
Or are they suspicious of anything coming into the country now? Is that a possibility?
And perhaps that it was a dried food product. Maybe they were, imposing these laws that are saying, oh, we need to collect more taxes on this, we need to collect more customs duty or whatever.
Yeah, but we've had that in other countries, and it goes through anyway. They collect the customs, but they deliver it, They
do, yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. Is the infrastructure in Greece collapsing in some way? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's what I wonder. So hopefully we'll get these kinds of answers when we speak to Helen today. And as I said, it won't be a politician's answer. It won't be a governmental answer. It won't be a European Union level answer. It'll be from somebody.
Or a TV answer.
Or a TV answer. Yeah, it'll be from a mother, from a citizen, from a homeowner. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Okay.
Hello,
Helen. Hi, this is Ahonu, and Aingeal Rose is here with me. And you're very welcome on the Honest to God series.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hi, Helen. Helen, we're going to just keep your first name with us for today so that we're free to exchange back and forth without any worries, okay?
Okay.
All right. So let's go ahead, Ahonu.
All right. Now, I have to thank you for coming on the show.
And actually, I have to thank you because you give me the opportunity to say something about my country, something that usually the TV and the radio doesn't say.
Yes.
Now I have a difficulty about because we cannot send any money abroad, so there's a problem here.
Yeah.
Here's something that many of our listeners would not have known, Helen, and that is the fact that I spent a number of years living in Athens myself. Now, to me, during that time, it was in the 70s and into the early 80s, and it seemed to me that Athens and Greece in general was a very, very thriving country at that point in time. I mean, there was huge shipping resources going on. There was huge agricultural available. There was huge tourism, and everybody seemed to be bright and happy and gay. What happened, do you think, in those ensuing years?
Okay, I agree with you that actually 70s, 80s, it was great times for us. I remember myself that I had my job. It was easy to find a job. It was easy to have a family. Everything was smooth. And but after 90s, I think something happened at the beginning. The Greeks somehow, we didn't notice it. I remember myself going to the banks and they were giving me credit cards just like that, without even asking questions. Now I realize that at that time the plan had started of trapping Greece and Greeks in debt. At that time we didn't realize it. We were really happy to go and have easy a loan or a credit card. Now I realize it was the beginning of a plan. They had set up a plan for us to engage us in economic, debts.
Yes.
Everybody had a loan for their house. Everybody was spending really more than they could afford. Yes. I admit that. But I think that nowadays, the price we pay, probably for not being so conscious about what was happening, it's too high. And I truly believe that the debt that they had announced that we own to Europe, it's not the real one.
Yes,
everything is set up. I think that everything is set up.
Yeah. Now, they did the same thing to the Irish people. They did exactly the same thing. And, let us be clear about this. When I say they, we come very much from a metaphysical perspective where we ourselves are responsible for everything. We're responsible for our government. We're responsible for all the circumstances that happen in our lives. But by way of understanding what's going on the 3D, we do have to, in a way, look for what causes this. Why are these cycles in place? What's going on with the financial system? What is Europe really trying to do? And we were, in a sense, the victims of that. And I use that word in inverted commas, victims, because in the end, really, there are no victims. But as I say, just by way of trying to understand from a 3D perspective, Ireland was very much a victim of those European policies also. And, the Celtic Tiger was raging in the 1990s. And then suddenly it all crashed because they did exactly the same thing. They extended credit to everybody. In fact, I remember walking into a bank where they would not let you leave without taking some kind of credit, without throwing money at you.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So, Now, but
sometimes I remember myself, happened here in Greece too. I remember that they had destroyed, first they didn't destroy the economy, first they destroyed the schools. I remember vividly that when my sons, I have two sons actually, they were coming from school, sometimes I was arguing with them because they didn't know specific things that for me they were granted. I mean, even the system in the schools, it was loose. The hospitals, somehow after 90s, they didn't run properly as we were used to, to have them when it was 70s or 80s. Somehow the whole country, little by little, it was corrupt. There was a corruption. But at the beginning, we didn't really realize it. That's the problem. The morals, now, the family, it was not like the beginning.
Yes. One of the things that
I think,
for our listeners to understand where we're coming from with this, we know that you're not a political person. We know you're not employed by any government agency. We know that you're not a statistician. We know that we don't want to speak to somebody who's going to give us political perspective on what's going on in Greece. This is one of the reasons why we're actually very, very pleased to speak with you, because we want the viewpoint of the person in the street. We want the viewpoint of somebody who is living through this as a mother, as a householder, as a citizen. And it's that perspective that we are really, really glad to be able to speak to you about. And you're saying that you have these difficulties in your day-to-day life with schools and hospitals. Can you tell us what else is going on the ground and the difficulties that you're experiencing?
Yeah, first of all the salaries and the pensions, they had cut about 1/3 of them. Personally, my pension was 1,700 euros, and today it's only 1,000. So 700 euros out of the way, and it's money I have paid for 30 years. It's not money that, they gave it to me just like that. One. Second, even though I have national medical insurance, I go to the hospitals, I can't find doctors. One is on vacation, the other is transferred. The third one, I don't know, has 100 patients in front of him in 6 hours, which means he cannot really see everybody properly. They had cut, if I want a blood test, I can't go every month or every 2 months to have a blood test. They have cut the times that you can go and have your, tests.
And is this recent, Helen?
Yeah, the last 2 years.
Okay.
So we have difficulties. Another difficulty, I have to pay now the doctor to subscribe me medicine if I want to. I have to go to the hospitals. I have to pay money in order to see somebody. It's very difficult to see to have an appointment in the hospital. Actually, I had an arthritis problem. I called the general hospital. They told me after 8 months, probably I had an appointment. If you want to go a private doctor, minimum it's 50 euros. And it's problem. It's a problem. Actually, in this week, before they vote in the parliament, that they increase the VAT tax, which is a tax we have in the products, in the supermarkets. They said that they are going to increase it to 23%. They haven't even voted still in the parliament, and in the supermarket, in all the shops, they have increased it in the products. Without even, actually, the law is voted in the parliament.
Right.
Things like that.
Yeah. Now,
What else I can really, I think my personal feeling that I don't have the same medical attention and ability actually to go to see doctors.
right.
I don't have the money.
Let me
really.
ask you about the fruit and vegetables, because when I lived there, I was very impressed with the amount of fresh organic fruit and vegetables that were available from the farmers around the area. It was very impressive, and most wonderful fruit. Now, I often wondered, in the light of the difficulties that you face now, are the farmers still producing the same quantity of food, or have those prices made it difficult for you to feed yourselves in the same way as you would have done 10 or 15 or 20 years ago?
Definitely, I can really. I remember with 500 drachmas. I remember it very well. I could go to my local grocery, and I had fruits and vegetables for 1 week.
Yes. So that was quite cheap, really.
And cheap. And today, really, for the same amount of vegetables and money, I need at least 50 euros.
Yes. Yeah. So that's a huge increase in the cost of living.
It is. And the other problem we face is that the fruits and the vegetables that we find in the local markets, most of them, they have how can I say, a lot of pesticides.
Yes.
It's another problem.
Right.
Which means if you want to have a proper hygienic, you have to go to biological products. Biological products, they are at least 20% more expensive than the ones that you can find in the supermarket or in the local grocery.
Yes. And you don't want to get us started talking about, organic food and vegetables, because it's a little pet peeve of ours. We like to eat organic or biological, as you call it, and you would imagine that those products should be cheaper because they don't have these poison toxins put into them. But yet they make them more expensive because they force the people to comply with inspections.
Yeah, it's another industry.
Yes, yeah.
It's another industry. First of all, what does it mean biological product? The food I had as a child as normal food from my grandparents,
yes.
Now they have announced it biological.
I know.
And I have to pay more.
Yes, and it's perfectly normal, as you said, yes. So the food has increased in price. Your medicines and your hospitalization has increased. And how is it affecting you from a family perspective? Do you find that there is tension or strife or stress because of all these things?
The problem we face today is that in every house we have one unemployed, at least. One person is unemployed in every family.
Right.
At least.
Yeah.
The second problem we have, even the middle class people we were, and I am one of them, we have only one house, not 80 houses like all the parliament people they have. We talk about one house. They have removed the law that actually we have before, when you had only one house and you had a loan, the money that you could pay back to the loan, it was really deducted from your tax form. So it was something that it was helpful to you. Today, they have removed this law, which means that if you have one house and you belong, you pay taxes, more taxes. And we have more taxes, not only for the loan, but as a house. We call it MFIA now. It's only 3 years. Now we pay more. Yeah. Besides the taxes we face, we have another additional taxes for the house. Imagine that the money I pay to the tax office, if I divide it by 12 months, to me it's something like 400 per month.
In taxes
to the government.
Wow.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like a punishment because I own one house.
Yes.
Not more.
Yes. Now, I do want to talk about these austerity measures that are being pushed upon you from the European Union, but I want to look at them from the perspective of a householder. And the Greek people voted against these austerity measures, but it would appear that you are being totally ignored by the government in Greece and the European parliamentarians. They seem to have just pushed that vote under the carpet and said, you're getting this bailout and you're getting these austerity measures whether you like it or not. Is that the way you feel what's happening on the ground?
Actually, I am one of the people that we vote no. And I feel, let's say, angry because my government betrayed me, not me personally, and suddenly this no became yes.
Yes.
So actually, this showed me that the whole game is preset.
Yes.
And actually, they laugh at me.
But how has that translated now into the general feeling of the population? Is the population feeling angry like the way you say you feel now? Or are you isolated? Are you the only one who feels like this?
No, I'm not the only one. Thanks God for that. But the Greeks, somehow they are divided in two categories now. From one camp is the Greeks that they have somehow money, or they have to try to send money abroad. So somehow they feel that they are safe, in quotes, and they want to have euro because they believe that if they go out of euro, they are going to lose all the money. I admit there are a category of Greeks, they have black money, so they support the system, let's put it this way. They are not patriots, they just look after their money.
Yes.
From the other hand, the majority of the Greeks, they are more, I can say at least 60% of the Greeks, they are more patriot, they realize that the country is sold by the system, by the politicians. They feel they are betrayed by these corrupted politicians. Mm-hmm. And they don't have money anyway to lose. That's one part. They have lost whatever they have lost. Mm-hmm. So because they don't have money, they feel more patriotic. How can I say more?
Yes.
They have this pain for the country.
Yes, yes. Now,
my kids, they are abroad. I send them abroad.
Yes.
To save them.
Yes.
The youth, it's abroad now.
Yes. Well, we had the same situation in Ireland too, where there was a huge mass emigration, over the years, of necessity, because the country had been crippled.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I understand that it's an issue.
I have passed 25 years, really, with my blood, I mean it, with my blood, to grow up my kids, to give them education, to put them in the university. Now I force them to stay out abroad. Mm-hmm. And actually I say to my son, don't dare to come back to Greece.
Yes.
And I say sometimes, what happened?
Yes.
I mean, I spent all my life for just to be alone in Athens without my kids, without my family. What's the purpose?
Yeah, yeah. Now, let me ask you just a quick question. I know Aingeal Rose wants to ask questions of you too, Helen, but
Okay.
I'm curious about the great Greek history. You know, the image that we have abroad of the great nation of Greece, and how now it seems to have been brought to its knees economically. Is there any of that old Greek pride still there?
Yeah, there is. There are people. I'm sure they are going to fight for the country.
Right.
The problem is that at the moment we don't have a Greek leader somehow to follow.
Right.
That's the problem here.
Right.
But there are people. Yes, of course there are.
So, Helen, with the deals that are being made with the governments, are they still up for negotiation, or have they all been decided?
I'm sure that even though they have said so, everything is preset. And little by little, they give us the bad news. I don't know if we are going to be out of Euro or they are going to introduce this Brexit or whatever. In a way, I don't think that it's very important, because in reality, they sell the country. They have allowed multinational companies to come here and buy everything. So that's the big problem. The big problem is that we talk about money here and the whole day money, and at the end of the day, nobody touches the AOS. I don't know if you know what AOS means for us. It's actually the frontiers we have in the sea.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great problem, because if we had a real Greek government, the main purpose, it was really to touch and secure the AOS line, the frontiers we have at the sea, because the whole Aegean, it's full of gas, it's full of oil.
Right.
We have osmio in Thrace, north of Greece. We have gold in Macedonia. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of, how can I say, soil treasures.
Yes.
And instead of securing the zones, we don't do anything about it. We keep silent.
Years of research, thousands of profound statements, hundreds of sessions, miles of transcripts, months of listening, a vast archive of personal power and spiritual awareness awaits you. Join worldofempowerment.com today, a members-only website of practical spirituality for your fast-changing world. worldofempowerment.com.
Yes, yeah. Well, this was something that ever since this issue began, when it first came to the news throughout Europe about what was going on in Greece, I always came back with that same argument, and Aingeal Rose has heard me many times say this, that the Greek nation, the country of Greece, is so full of natural resources. I mean, surrounded by sea, exactly, with all those islands, plenty of fishing, huge agriculture, massive tourism, fantastic shipping, all kinds of local crafts, exactly, and engineering, and fantastic, generous people. And I could never understand how it could be so economically dragged down when in fact it should be prosperous and abundant and very self-sufficient. So there's obviously some force that's going on outside the country that's causing this.
Exactly. First of all, I give you an example. In Thrace, which is north of Greece and next to the Turkey, mm-hmm, instead of promoting industries, helping the Greeks to have enterprises, their companies, so the Greeks, they remain there. They abandoned the whole area. They forced the Greeks really to sell their land to the Turks, to the Greek Turks actually, because there it's Turks that they're supposed to be Greeks. And today, fun enough, the whole Thrace belongs to these Turkeys that actually they're under the Greek government. And they say, this is our land.
Yeah.
And actually they are right. It's their land because they have bought it from the Greeks.
And
But what happened for the Greek government to reach this point?
And aren't they also now talking a part of this austerity measures and part of the securing of this huge amount of bailout funds? It's part of that is where some of the islands will be sold and some of the national assets will be sold.
Exactly.
I mean, this must be a shocking thing for the Greek people.
It is. And we can do anything. In Macedonia now, the gold. Suddenly, a multinational company comes along and they want to buy the whole thing, the whole area. The people there, a lot of times they have protest marches, they have done everything to protest.
Yeah.
Why? There is no Greek company that can really do something about this gold mine, and we expect the multinational to do something about it.
Yeah.
We had Greek companies, sugar company, they closed it. We had a Greek company that they're producing papers, they closed it. We had Greek company that they were producing textiles, they closed it. For decades, they were forcing the farmers, that because you mentioned that, and they were giving them money not to plant plants in their land. Actually, the common market, they were giving them money not to plant, because they wanted to promote the Italian oranges or whatever.
Yes, we've seen that
And
happen.
we make them lazy. Instead of promoting the farmers to plant, they were paying them not to plant.
Yes.
So, Helen, let me ask you this question then. Since the majority voted no against austerities, what do you think would have happened if your government had followed that? In other words, let's say you did break from the euro. How was your country going to be able to sustain itself or support itself? I mean, do the Greek people have an idea of what they would have liked to see happen to be self-sovereign, or was there no plan really? So because this is my thoughts. In other words, it's one thing for a country to say, no, we don't want to be go through this debt plan. We don't want to, we want to break away from the euro. But in terms of the Greek people themselves, even now you're mentioning how a lot of your resources have been sold off. So how could Greece actually sustain itself if that happened?
Yeah, it's a good question because we have the same question. But let me tell you something. I'm going to starve anyway, even if with euro, if I stay in a common market, we have reached a point now as country that really I'm going to starve. I know. But I prefer to starve without betrayers and without the Germans on top of my head. I prefer to starve till I find my way as a Greek person through, I don't know how many years it's going to take me. At least one day I will find my way. Instead of starving and on top to feel that they ridicule me and I am the shit of Europe. Because now it's very bad. I mean, they ridicule us every day. We are not the lazy cunts that we don't work and we go to have Uzo and Bouzoukia and all this crap that they promote in the media. I don't say this doesn't happen, but it happens through a specific, percentage of Greeks that probably for some reasons they have black money and they can spend it to Bouzoukia. But it's not the majority of the Greeks.
Yes. No, I
like
do understand that. I know that from my own
Okay?
experience. Now,
Anyway, I'm going to starve, at least without betrayers on top of my head and having my land. That's the problem.
just a moment, so that I understand. You're saying that you will starve, or you will start. You're saying you will
starve, hungry. I am hungry. I am hungry anyway now, and on top, I have, I don't know, the majority of Greeks then telling me off on top.
And what are they saying to you?
What they are saying to me, I mean, first of all, they blame the population for the debts we have. They blame the population for the debts we have. It's not, I didn't steal any money. I working all my whole life properly. I was paying my taxes properly, and suddenly they produce this story that my country they have this huge debt, which is not my debt, it's the bankers.
Yes. Yeah.
And all the money we borrow, they go to the bankers, not to me. Mm-hmm. And on top they blame me.
Yeah.
Why?
I want to ask you about that, Helen. You're very much aware that the European media has painted this picture of Greece as being lazy country, a country that has not managed its finances, and various other negative things that they've said about Greece. Now, I know those things not to be true because I've lived there and I've experienced it firsthand myself. But I've also seen how they would paint the same picture of Ireland at one point in time. So I'm aware of this kind of a negative agenda that's going on from a European-wide perspective. But what I want to know is, you're saying that that is not the case on the ground, that none of those allegations are true.
I say that up to a point, there is a percentage in Greeks, among the Greeks, there is a percentage that, yes, they did jobs and they have black money. They work with black money. But it's not the majority.
Right.
I admit that there is a percentage of Greeks that actually they voted corrupted politicians because they wanted their kids to be employed in the state ministries.
Yes, yeah.
But it's not all the Greeks. The problems that they have exaggerated the percentage.
You're right, yeah. Now the other thing
that's the problem.
The other thing also that Greece is accused of is mismanagement of the country's finances. Would you say that that is true or not?
Up to a point it's true.
Right.
Up to a point it's true. But they use it to justify other problems.
Yeah.
They use this information to cover their, robberies.
Right.
Yes, I admit that it was an overcost. And for instance, they wanted to create a road and they needed, let's put it, 10 euros. I know that it was a corruption. They were giving the road to this specific man, and this specific man was saying that the cost is not 10 euros, but it's 15, and then probably they was giving commission to somebody, the rest 5 euros.
Gotcha.
I admit that it was happened, yeah. But not to the extent they use it, and they try to cover the robberies. That's the problem. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Now,
as a country, if we were really conscious as population, we could manage our country. We could manage our country to eliminate those corrupted situations. But how can I say? Doesn't justify the huge loans now that we have to pay back. Mm-hmm. I say that we had mismanagement, but it was not in such extent to pay such a price now to have to pay back all this money to the common market.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
I do, certainly. Now, I want to ask you about your community, your local community. One of the things that we have found when a race of people, a country or a group of people or a community is suffering in some way, a lot of really, really amazing heart-based community effort seems to come out of nowhere to help. And we've seen that with the natural disasters around the world. And in a way, you're in a natural disaster. If you're finding it hard to have money to feed yourselves and your family, this is a disaster. And are you finding, though, that your community is pulling together more, or are you finding more division?
Actually, one of the things I say that thanks God we have this crisis in Greeks, that suddenly we found ourselves. And I can see every day that one Greek tries to help the other Greek.
Yes.
There is help among the people, not from the government. Mm-hmm. If something happened to you, you are dead if you believe that the government is going to help you.
Yes.
People, yes. I think a lot of people now, they help each other.
Right.
And sometimes I say, thanks God this crisis came and we realized that we were following the wrong train. We were really, even myself, I remember myself at 90s, I could help people, but not so consciously. I do it now.
Gotcha. Yeah. So do you think in that way, Helen, that, this is an opportunity? Do you think that there could be a wonderful outcome all at the end of this, even though I understand that you are going through pain right now?
It's my philosophy that even the worst of the worst is happening. Always there is a change to have something better.
Yes.
All the dark and negative situations, always they lead to the light. I'm sure Greece is paying, probably, maybe you say we are paying our karma, I don't know. I'm sure good things, they come from this darkness. First of all, we have stopped voting like the old ways. Now we vote more consciously. We realize that we have, as you say, a history. Now a lot of Greeks, they bother to help each other. A lot of Greeks, they start learning again their history and appreciating things we have here. Definitely, good things happen, but we need time. And which means that 2-3 generations, they are going to be lost in the way.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's a problem. Mm-hmm. We pay a price, but I'm sure we go towards the light.
So Helen,
the whole planet is going towards the light anyway.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier.
Years ago,
you mentioned earlier, Helen, that you were hungry. I mean, are you hungry now? Do you not have enough food?
No. I was talking in a metaphorical way.
I got you.
Definitely, I don't consume the same as I was consuming before. I don't have vacations like I was used to have vacations before. I can't invite people the same rate as I was inviting people in my house as before. No, personally, there are people, they are hungry, yes. But it's not so bad, let's put it this way. Still, there are the people, they can find their ways.
Yeah.
There are people, they suffer, but it's not, so tragic. Because still there are people in the villages. A lot of still they take the passion of the grandfather and the grandmother, and sometimes these persons, they help daughters and grandsons. Yes, we have lost, how can I say, the quality of our living. We don't have the same quality.
Now, Helen, I want to ask you, as we come to a close with our show today, I want to ask you about you did answer me about the prospects for the future, which is wonderful in the sense that you feel that something good has the potential to come out of this. But at the moment, though, the pain that you're going through is pretty traumatic. And I want to ask you about the riots that we have seen on the television cameras in the streets. Is that a common occurrence, or is that just an isolated incident that the television media is trying to give us a wrong impression? Do you understand my question?
Yes, definitely in TV, they say a lot of lies.
Right. Can you explain that a little bit more?
They present the situation as they wish, as they want. I don't say that there are no people, they go and they protest in the Athens. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people, they have said that these anarchists, that they, from time to time, they burn the center of Athens, mm-hmm. Actually, it's from the government side. They are not real anarchists.
Oh.
There are a lot of things like that.
Yeah.
The other day, I heard about this nurse that she was retired from the hospital, and she revealed in the Facebook with name. I said, my name is blah, blah, and I have retired, and now I can talk. And I'm telling you, we have a lot of suicides.
Right.
But when in the hospital we had the suicide, they were forced us to say in the, when you say the reason somebody dies,
yes.
Not suicide.
Oh.
In order not to be revealed that a lot of Greek people, they have committed suicide because they have lost their home.
Yes. Yes.
So there are lies.
Yeah, that's the great tragedy, isn't it? This is the sad thing, that underneath the surface there is hurt and pain.
And another problem we face, is with all these illegal immigrants they have brought here. My goodness. It's another great problem we face.
And where
immigrants.
Where are these immigrants coming from?
I don't say anything about the people. Don't misunderstand me. It's not the people. I feel very, how can I, companion about the people. They are, but sadly, you cannot leave 5,000 Pakistanis in the center of Athens just like that.
Mm-hmm. And are you taking, is your country also taking a share of the immigrants that are coming from the African countries? We hear a lot about them being picked up in these rafts in the Mediterranean. Is Greece taking in some of those people also?
Yeah, of course. A lot of illegal immigrants from countries, from Syria, from Africa, they land illegally on the islands.
Right.
But the problem is that the government doesn't do anything about those people. They leave them to their destiny. And of course, the local people, they have to face the problem.
Yeah.
The local people. They have to feed them, they have to give them clothes, they have to do whatever they have to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the government doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And it's another problem.
Yeah.
I don't have anything against these Syrian or whatever people comes from the war. Of course, I feel very, I feel so sorry. And if I can, I will help them. But I cannot have 100 people like that outside my door. Suddenly, as a person, I can feed them. Simple as that.
So Helen, let me ask you then, in terms of, because I don't really want to leave the program without us talking about possible solutions, because Greece isn't the only country that is going through this. I mean, Ireland's going through it. America's going through it because I'm American, and we've watched this takeover go on in the past 10 years. And it seems like every country is on board with this corrupt form of government where
the whole planet is a problem. In the whole planet we have the same problem. Even in Greece, Luxembourg has more debt than us. Why they don't want to go to save Luxembourg instead of going on with Greece all the every day? Greece and Greece. Why they don't go to save Luxembourg, Belgium? They earn more money. They have more density than us. Why they don't do something about them? And the whole day they are occupied with Greeks and the Greeks and the Greeks. Why? One question.
Yeah, I think with your country, when you all voted against the austerity, I think the rest of the world was rejoicing for that because we thought, well, if one country can actually do that and become self-sovereign and break away from these corrupt governments, it would set a precedence for the rest of the world. And we were all hoping that would hold because...
The solution, to me, is
what's
one.
the solution?
Every single individual has to realize that has to be conscious. Every single individual has to do something, whatever he can, to love himself first, and then to love the neighbor. If everybody doesn't dirty their home, doesn't dirty their county, they look after, their family. They try to be honest. They try to be, all the good things.
Yeah.
Gentle and kind, and have compassion for the neighbor. Every single individual has to do this. When we change inside us, then the whole planet will change.
That's right. We have to go back to love, don't we?
Love is only love is the solution, of course.
Yes.
If I don't love my body, and I don't take the proper food because I don't love my body, and I eat every day GMO foods, what? I play the game of Mossado. If I don't love myself, and I have full of stress, and what is going to be? What? I'm going to take the pills they give me, and I go to the hospital, and what? I serve my country, I serve my family, I look after my kids. If I have a stress and anxiety and nervous breakdown, I love myself, I love my kids, I don't serve anybody.
Right.
We don't have to how can I say, to leave the solution to the system. We are the system.
Yes.
Everybody has to look after himself, his family, his neighbor, his county, his country.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
To be, not to cheat. Mm-hmm. To declare everything.
Okay.
To try not to dirty his home, his square, his road,
yes,
his sea, not to pollute.
Well,
then everything will start changing.
That is a wonderful philosophy on which to leave. We have been speaking with Helen from Greece, and we find you to be full of compassion and understanding, and we are so grateful to you, Helen, for giving us an account that we have not heard in the mainstream media. And we really appreciate you coming on here and speaking out and saying the things that you have said, but also for having that vision that there is a potentially great outcome. There is the possibility of self-sovereignty. There is the possibility of people waking up and growing up and becoming more self-aware and more self-empowered. So we're very grateful to you for coming on and for giving out that message.
Yeah, I agree. I think
I thank you. You gave me the opportunity to say something about grace.
no,
And definitely,
yeah, and your
Sorry.
solution. No, Helen, your solution. You're so very right, and I'm so glad you brought it back down to the individual because, in all of our sessions with Source, we've always been reminded of that it's all about the individual, being conscious, being aware, taking care, cooperating, living in harmony with the earth and themselves. And certainly the loving yourself part is huge because that is where it all begins. And so I'm so glad you ended this way because it's a perfect way when I ask what's the solution where other people might think, it's about fighting the government or it's going out into the streets. The truth is it has to be each one of us. And I think that's just a beautiful way you say that, especially from yourself being right in the thick of it. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
We reached this point, not to Greece, but in the whole planet, because we were not conscious. We had jobs, we had money, life was easy. So we didn't think really. Now we face the problem. Now we have starting thinking and be more conscious and start being compassionate and love, etc., etc.
Yes. Okay. All right. We have to leave it there. Do give our regards to all your family. We thank you so much, and thank you for being so brave and compassionate and courageous and coming on and speaking out like you have done. Helen, thank you.
Thank you very much, Helen. We'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Okay. See you. Bye.
You have been listening to Aingeal Rose and Ahonu on World of Empowerment Radio, your station for practical spirituality in a changing world.